He was born with nothing, no kingdom, no army, no chance. But from the freezing Mongol steppe rose the man who would conquer the world, from China to Persia to the gates of Europe. He united the tribes, burned empires, and rewrote the fate of history. In his wake, over 40 million dead, so many the planet's carbon levels dropped. This is the rise of Genghis Khan. This is not a story of palaces or princes. This is the story of how a fractured, warring land gave birth to the man who would unite it by blood and iron, the man history would come to know as Genghis Khan, Mongolia, a land not ruled by kings but by the sky itself. Here the steppe stretches like a boundless ocean of grass, and life is dictated by the will of the wind and the strength of your clan. In the 12th century, this was no nation. It was a battlefield of tribes, Merkits, Naimans, Tatars, Khitans, all locked in endless cycles of raids, revenge and blood feuds. There were no borders, only rival encampments, and every dawn came with the possibility of death. Yet, amid this chaos, there was something more powerful than any tribe: survival. And to survive here, you needed more than just strength. You needed cunning, you needed loyalty, you needed fearlessness. This was the forge that shaped the Mongol people, and the one boy who would rise above them all. Around the year 1162, in the small encampment of the Borjigin clan near the Onon River, a child was born. His name was Temujin. It was an ominous birth. Legend says he was born clutching a blood clot in his fist, a sign, the elders whispered, that he was destined to become a great warrior. Temujin's father, Yesugei, was a respected chieftain allied loosely with the Kamag Mongol Confederation. His mother, Holun, had once been abducted from her own tribe, a brutal reminder of how marriages were often made in war. For the first few years of Temujin's life, things were stable, even hopeful. His father made alliances, fought rival clans, and dreamed of raising a strong heir. But fate, as always, had other plans. When Temujin was just 9, his father was murdered, poisoned by the Tatars during what was meant to be a diplomatic feast. Yesugei had left his son in the care of the Taichi-Yud tribe, hoping they would foster him. But the moment the news of his death spread, the Taichi-Yud cast Temujin out. In the harsh laws of the steppe, a fatherless boy was no longer a prince. He was a liability. His mother, Holun, suddenly found herself alone with 7 children. No allies, no herds, and no protection. They lived on roots and rodents. They slept in holes dug into hillsides. Every day was a test of will. The Mongol steppe in the 12th century was a brutal chessboard of feuding tribes. The Merkits, fierce warriors known for raiding villages and stealing brides. The Tatars, once favoured by the powerful Jin dynasty of China, now feared for their treachery. The Naimans, perhaps the most organised, with their own Khan and written language. The Khitans, descendants of an ancient empire, struggling to hold on to their past glory. All were driven by honour, blood feuds, and the code of the steppe, Yasa, an unwritten set of brutal survivalist laws. There were no cities, no stone fortresses. The only law that mattered was the one you could enforce with your bow or your blade. Into this storm of tribal hatred, Temujin would rise, but not through noble blood, through bloodshed. A childhood marked by violence. Even within his own family, survival was a battle. After Yesugei's death, leadership among his sons became contested. Temujin's half-brother Bekta tried to dominate the family, hoarding food and giving orders. One day, unable to take it anymore, Temujin and his younger brother Kasar ambushed and killed Bekta. It was fratricide, but on the steppe it was justice. It was a declaration. Temujin would not be ruled. Not by fate, not by blood. He was still a teenager, but already feared. The bonds of brotherhood. Yet Temujin was not entirely alone. In his youth he formed a powerful bond with a boy named Jamuka. Together they pledged brotherhood, Anda, a sacred vow on the steppe. For years they were inseparable. They hunted together, fought side by side, and dreamed of uniting the tribes. But history would twist that bond into something darker. Now a man with little power did something radical. He swallowed his pride and asked for help. He turned to Togrul, a powerful Khan of the Kerite tribe, and once a blood brother of his father. He also called upon Jamuka, his childhood friend. Together they launched a daring raid, rescued Berta, and slaughtered the Merkids. Temujin's reputation was sealed. He was no longer just a son of Yesugei. He was a force, a new kind of leader. What set Temujin apart was not just his brutality, it was his vision. While other chieftains ruled by ancestry, Temujin promoted men based on loyalty and ability. He welcomed slaves, foreigners, and outcasts, so long as they pledged loyalty. He built a mobile army of 10,000s, strictly organized, disciplined. He introduced decimal units of 10, 100, 1,000 and 10,000, each led by a commander chosen for merit, not blood. He was transforming the chaotic world of the steppe into a war machine. But change invites enemies, and soon Temujin's greatest test would come from his own blood brother. The First Civil War. As Temujin grew in strength, so did his ambition. Jamukha, still loyal to the old aristocratic ways, saw Temujin as a threat to tradition. In 1187, the two former blood brothers clashed in battle. Temujin lost, horribly. His forces were routed. Many were captured and boiled alive, a brutal warning from Jamukha. But defeat did not break Temujin. It taught him something else. Victory would not come from alliances. It would come from unity, by any means necessary. The calm, before the conquest. In the years that followed, Temujin rebuilt. He formed new alliances. He crushed bandits. He absorbed defeated tribes not through terror, but through order. And slowly, like the gathering of a storm, his power grew. By 1206, the time would come. The fractured tribes of Mongolia would gather in one place, and Temujin would be declared the universal ruler, the Genghis Khan. But before that moment, there was only this: a boy abandoned, a family cast out, a young warrior forged in the fury of the steppe. This was the beginning. The storm was coming, from the dust of betrayal, from the bones of kin, from the chaos of 1,000 feuds. He rose, Genghis Khan.